Jake, a devoted husband, uncovers his wife Sophia's betrayal when she confesses she's no longer in love. Instead of anger, he chooses a calculated path to reclaim his life. With every subtle move, Jake turns her world upside down, exposing her secrets and rebuilding himself. Will Sophia face the consequences of her choices, or will Jake's quiet revenge redefine their future? Jake Morales sat at his kitchen counter in Miami, Florida, the glow of his laptop casting sharp shadows across his hands. At 35, he managed construction projects by day and coached a youth soccer team on weekends, a guy who showed up early and stayed late for the people he cared about. It was 11:47 p.m. on a humid Friday, the kind of night where South Beach pulsed with life just a few miles away. His fingers paused over a spreadsheet, a half-finished timeline for a downtown condo build, when the front door rattled. Sophia stumbled in, heels dangling from one hand, phone clutched in the other. The sharp tang of tequila and coconut body spray hit the air. She laughed, missing the keyhole twice before the door swung shut behind her. Jake glanced up, expecting her usual post-night-out chatter, but her eyes were too bright, her steps unsteady. She dropped her purse on the counter, the zipper clinking against the granite, and poured herself a glass of Merlot from the bottle Jake had left out for them to share. No question, no glances away. She leaned against the counter, sipping loudly, like she was alone in the house. Girls' night was wild, Sophia said, her voice a headline meant to fill the silence. She scrolled her phone, thumb flicking past notifications that buzzed like flies. The DJ at Cielo actually knew how to keep the vibe up. Camila got us free shots because she's like besties with the bartender. Her words tumbled out, aimed at the sink, not Jake. He closed his laptop, the click sharp in the quiet kitchen. The fridge hummed, a low drone underscoring her monologue about rooftop lights and strangers who danced like they meant it. Jake watched her, noting the way her phone stayed face down, the screen lighting up with a new text she didn't open. A year ago, she'd have kicked off her shoes mid-story, spilling details about a coworker's bad date or a song that reminded her of their first road trip. Now, she talked like she was auditioning for a life he wasn't part of. "We got into it about love tonight," she said, the word heavy, like she'd bitten into something sour. "Big a love, you know? What's supposed to feel like?" She swirled the wine, staring into the glass. Jake pushed his chair back, the legs scraping the tile. "What's it supposed to feel like?" he asked, voice even, testing the water. Sophia's eyes flicked to him, then away, like she hadn't expected him to engage. She took another sip, bigger this time, and set the glass down hard enough to make the stem wobble. "Like fireworks," she said. "Not this." Her hand waved vaguely, circling the kitchen, their life him. Jake's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent, letting her words hang. "I'm not unhappy," she added quickly, her tone wobbling like her glass. "It's just, I miss excitement. You're so steady, Jake. I could set my watch by you." She laughed, a sharp sound that didn't match her eyes. Camila said comfort's great for a couch, not a marriage. The line landed like a jab, and she smirked, pleased with its edge. Jake folded his arms, his fingers digging into his biceps. "Camila's got a lot of opinions," he said, keeping his voice low, controlled. Sophia's phone buzzed again. She flipped it over, her thumb hovering over the screen before she locked it and shoved it into her purse. "It's not about you," she said, too fast, the way people do when they're lying to themselves. I feel like I'm living someone else's life. Everything's so planned. Budget apps, meal preps, your soccer practices." She paced a small circle, wine sloshing in her glass. "I need to feel wanted like when we met," and every touch felt electric. Her fingers snapped, as if she could summon that spark right there. Jake leaned forward, elbows on the counter. "You don't feel wanted?" His question was direct, not accusatory, but it pinned her. Sophia froze, her eyes darting to the floor, then back to her glass. "I care about you, Jake," she said, her voice softer now, testing a new angle. "But I'm not in love with you. Not like that." The confession landed like a dropped plate, sharp and final. She didn't take it back. Instead, she drained her glass and poured another, the bottle clinking against the rim. He stood, his chair sliding back with a slow screech. "Good to know," he said, the words clipped deliberate. Sophia blinked, waiting for a fight, a plea, something to grab onto. Jake gave her nothing. He picked up his laptop and walked to the sink, rinsing his coffee mug from earlier. The water hissed, drowning out the fridge's hum. Sophia followed him with her eyes, her fingers tightening around her glass. "Don't make this a big thing," she said, preempting an argument he hadn't started. "I was just being honest." "Honest," Jake repeated, setting the mug on the rack. He turned, meeting her gaze for the first time. "You said what you meant. I heard you." His tone was flat, but his eyes held something colder, sharper, like a blade she hadn't seen him carry before. Sophia shifted her weight, her bare feet scuffing the tile. "You're being weird," she said, trying to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. She grabbed her heels and headed for the stairs, her steps uneven, her purse still unzipped on the counter. Halfway up, she paused, turning back. "Don't take it personally," she called, as if that could soften the cut. Jake didn't respond. He corked the wine bottle, wiped a stray drop from the counter, and stood still as her footsteps faded down the hall. The house settled into a heavy quiet, the kind that amplifies every small sound. A creak in the floorboards, a distant car horn. Jake opened his laptop again, but the spreadsheet stayed untouched. He pulled out his phone, opened their joint banking app, and scrolled through recent charges. $47 at Cielo, $22 for an Uber, $89 a hotel bar he'd never heard of. His thumb hovered over the screen, then locked it. He walked to the living room, where a framed photo from their Key West trip sat on a shelf. They were laughing, salt in their hair, but the memory felt like someone else's now. Jake turned the frame face down, a small, deliberate act. Upstairs, a drawer opened, then slammed shut. Sophia was still awake, probably texting Camila, spinning the night into a story where she was the hero. Jake sat on the couch, his phone buzzing with a work email he ignored. He wasn't angry. Not yet. What he felt was clearer, like the moment of blueprint snaps into focus. Sophia had drawn a line. He'd decide where it led. Jake Morales woke at 5:45 a.m., the Miami dawn slicing through the blinds. Sophia's confession from Friday night echoed in his head, not as a wound, but as a signal to move. He brewed coffee for one, the machine's hiss filling the quiet house. No morning text to check her plans, no offer to grab her oat milk. He scrambled eggs, ate standing at the counter, and rinsed the plate before the yolk set. Upstairs, Sophia slept oblivious to the shift. At his desk, by 7 a.m., Jake opened his work calendar and deleted a reminder for a weekend getaway to the Keys he'd booked for their anniversary. The confirmation email vanished with a click. He texted Diego, an old college buddy who owned a gym in Coral Gables. "Need a spot to train. You free?" Diego replied instantly. 6 p.m. Bring your grit. Jake locked his phone and dove into a project proposal, his fingers flying over the keyboard, pitching a new client with a precision that felt like reclaiming ground. Sophia shuffled downstairs at 9 a.m., her phone already buzzing. She poured coffee, noticed the empty oat milk carton, and frowned at the fridge. "You didn't grab any?" she asked, her voice carrying an edge of expectation. Jake glanced up from his laptop. "Haven't been to the store," he said, his tone neutral, eyes back on the screen. She stood there, waiting for the old Jake to apologize, to offer a fix. He didn't. She grabbed her keys and left, the door clicking shut. By noon, Jake noticed her phone's passcode had changed again. He didn't ask why. Instead, he opened their joint banking app and spotted another charge. $65 at a rooftop lounge, time-stamped 1:13 a.m., hours after she'd stumbled home. He screenshot it, saved it to a private folder, and closed the app. No confrontation, just data. He called a restaurant where he'd reserved a table for next week and canceled it, citing a schedule conflict. The host didn't press. Jake didn't explain. At 6 p.m., he met Diego at the gym, a no-frills spot with clanging weights and reggaeton blasting. Diego tossed him a pair of gloves. "You look like you need to hit something," he said, pointing to a heavy bag. Jake threw punches, each one landing with a thud that matched his pulse. Diego watched, nodding. "Whatever's got you wound up, use it." Jake didn't spill about Sophia, but the sweat and strain carved out space to think. He left the gym lighter, his muscles humming with purpose. Back home, Sophia was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, a takeout container from a taco joint open beside her. "You didn't text where you were," she said, not looking up. Jake set his gym bag down. "Didn't know I needed to," he replied, grabbing a water bottle from the fridge. Her thumb paused on the screen, but she didn't push. The silence stretched, taut as a wire. Jake showered, changed, and sat in the den with a project binder, sketching timelines instead of checking on her. The next morning, Tuesday, Jake caught a notification on their shared tablet. A tag photo from Camila's social media. Sophia, laughing at Cielo's rooftop, a guy's arm slung casually around her waist. The caption read, "Vibes only." Jake's stomach tightened, but he didn't react. He saved the post, noted the guy's handle, at Lucas Vibe, and cross-referenced it with Sophia's recent follows. A match. Lucas's profile showed him at the same lounge, same night, posting about new connections. Jake's jaw clenched, but he closed the app and headed to work. At the office, Jake pitched a high-rise project to a developer, his delivery sharp, confident. The client leaned forward, sold on his vision for sustainable builds. "You're on fire today, Morales," she said, signing off on the initial contract. Jake nodded, pocketing the win. On his lunch break, he called his sister, Elena, who lived in Tampa. "You free this weekend?" he asked. "Need a change of scenery." Elena sensed the weight in his voice but didn't pry. "Come through. Bring your running shoes." Sophia came home that evening with a bottle of Jake's favorite craft IPA, setting it on the counter like a peace offering. "Thought you'd like this," she said, her voice softer, testing. Jake glanced at it, then back to his laptop. "Thanks," he said, leaving the bottle unopened. Her smile faltered. She hovered, waiting for the old rhythm. Jake cracking the cap, pouring 2 glasses, asking about her day. He didn't. She retreated to the living room, her phone lighting up with Camila's name. Wednesday, Jake turned off location sharing on his phone. Sophia noticed by noon. Texting. "Find my says you're offline. Everything okay?" He replied, "It's off. I'm fine. No explicación, no apology." Her response came an hour later. 3 dots, then nothing. Jake spent the evening at a local startup incubator, mentoring young entrepreneurs on project scaling. One of them, a coder named Mia, thanked him for catching a flaw in her pitch deck. "You see things others miss," she said. Jake nodded, filing the compliment away. Thursday morning, Sophia tried a new angle. "We should do something this weekend," she said, leaning against the kitchen island while Jake packed his gym bag. "Maybe that new place on Ocean Drive?" Her voice carried a forced brightness. Jake zipped the bag shut. "I'm heading to Tampa," he said, seeing Elena. Sophia's eyes narrowed. You didn't mention that." Jake met her gaze. "Didn't know I needed to," he repeated, the words a quiet wall. She opened her mouth, then closed it, grabbing her phone and storming out. At work, Jake caught another post from Lucas, a selfie at a bar, Sophia's laugh audible in the background of his story. The timestamp was recent, last night. Jake's fingers tightened around his phone, but he didn't text her. Instead, he emailed a realtor friend, Alex, about short-term rentals in downtown Miami. Looking for something simple, close to work, he wrote. Alex replied within the hour. "Got a loft near Brickell. Want to tour it?" Jake set a viewing for Saturday. Friday night. Sophia came home late, her phone buzzing as she kicked off her heels. "You're still up," she said, surprised, seeing Jake on the couch with a book. He marked his page and stood. "Just heading to bed," he said, leaving her in the living room. Her phone lit up again, Camila, then Lucas. Jake didn't pause. He climbed the stairs, packed a small bag for Tampa, and checked his email. Alex had sent photos of the loft. High ceilings, a balcony, a clean slate. Jake replied, "Book the tour." The house felt different now. Not a home, but a space he was already leaving. Sophia's voice drifted up, talking low on the phone. Jake didn't listen. He set his alarm for 6 a.m. and slept without dreaming, his mind sharp, his path clearer with every step he took away from her. Jake Morales returned from Tampa on Sunday evening, his duffel bag slung over his shoulder, his mind sharp from a weekend of running trails with Elena. The Miami air hit him as he stepped off the bus, humid and electric with possibility. He'd spent Saturday touring a Brickell loft with Alex, the realtor, signing a lease application on the spot for a place with a balcony and a view of the skyline. Back home, Sophia was on the couch, her phone glowing with a new post from Lucas, the co-worker whose arm had been around her in that Cielo photo. Jake set his bag down and didn't acknowledge her glance. Monday morning, he moved with purpose. At the office, he finalized a project timeline, earning a nod from his boss for landing the downtown condo deal. During a break, he checked Sophia's social media, not out of obsession but strategy. Another post from Lucas showed up, a vague caption about late nights and real talks with a location tag at a Coconut Grove bar. Jake cross-checked their joint account. $72 charged there, timestamp 2:04 a.m. Saturday, when he was in Tampa. He saved the screenshot, his pulse steady, and closed the app. That evening, Jake attended a company mixer at a rooftop venue in Wynwood, a networking event buzzing with developers and city planners. Sophia had texted she'd be there too, invited by a colleague. Jake arrived early, shaking hands, trading ideas about sustainable builds. When Sophia walked in, her laugh carried across the patio, her phone in hand as she posed for a selfie with Camila. Jake caught her eye, but didn't approach. Instead, he joined a group that included Maria, a sharp-witted procurement manager who'd praised his recent pitch. Mid-conversation, Jake leaned toward Maria and mentioned Sophia's new energy at CLO, his tone casual but deliberate. Maria raised an eyebrow, then shared that Camila had been venting about Sophia's late-night outings with Lucas, a junior exec who liked to blur lines. The comment spread like a spark, reaching Camila's ears across the room. She pulled Sophia aside, their heads close, voices low but tense. Jake sipped his water, watching the ripple he'd started. Back home, Sophia stormed into the kitchen where Jake was rinsing a glass. "What did you say to Maria?" she demanded, her phone clutched tight. Jake set the glass down, his movements calm. "I said you've been enjoying yourself," he replied, meeting her gaze. "Anything else?" Sophia's eyes darted away, then back. "You're stirring things up on purpose." Jake opened the banking app on his phone, pulling up the Coconut Grove charge and the hotel bar receipt from last week. "These say more than I did," he said, sliding the phone toward her. Sophia stared at the screen, her fingers twitching. "That's nothing," she said, her voice thin. "Just drinks with the team." Jake tilted his head. "Lucas isn't your team. And $89 at a hotel bar isn't nothing." He didn't raise his voice, but the facts landed like stones. Sophia's shoulders stiffened, her lips parting as if to argue, then closing. She pushed the phone back. "You're blowing this out of proportion." Jake pocketed the device. "I'm seeing it for what it is." The next day, Jake called Alex and confirmed the loft lease, setting a move-in date for the following week. At work, he overheard a colleague mention Sophia's name in a hushed tone, the rumor about Lucas now circulating beyond the mixer. Camila had distanced herself, posting a cryptic story about trust and boundaries. Sophia texted Jake at noon. "We need to talk. Tonight." He replied, "I'll be home at 7. No emojis, no softness, just the appointment. At 7:03 p.m., Sophia sat at the dining table, her hands folded, her phone face down. "I didn't mean for things to get messy," she started, her voice low, practiced. "Lucas is just a friend. I got carried away." Jake sat across from her, his chair angled slightly away. "You said you're not in love with me," he said. "You've been spending nights with him. That's not carried away. That's a choice." Sophia's eyes welled up, but Jake didn't flinch. "I'm moving out," he added. "Signed a lease today. We're done pretending this works." Sophia's breath caught, her fingers gripping the table's edge. "You're giving up? Just like that?" Jake shook his head. "You gave up. I'm just not fighting for someone who's already checked out." He stood, grabbing his keys. "I'll stay at Diego's tonight. Gives you space to think." Sophia's tears fell now, but they didn't pull him back. He walked out, the door clicking shut, leaving her with the weight of her own words. At Diego's, Jake crashed on a spare couch, the gym owner tossing him a beer he didn't drink. "You good?" Diego asked. Jake nodded. Getting there. His phone buzzed. Sophia, calling, then texting, "This isn't what I wanted." He didn't respond. Instead, he opened his email and confirmed a mentoring session at the startup incubator for Wednesday. The next morning, he ran along the Miami River, his stride steady, each step pulling him further from the life he'd outgrown. By Wednesday, the office buzz had grown. A coworker forwarded Jake a screenshot of Camila's group chat, where she called Sophia out for lying about Lucas. The fallout was public now, Sophia's reputation fraying at work. Jake didn't gloat. He forwarded the screenshot to his private folder and focused on a new project bid. His phone stayed quiet. No text from Sophia, just a confirmation from Alex. Keys ready Friday. Jake exhaled, the path ahead clear, the weight of her betrayal no longer his to carry. Jake Morales stepped into his new Brickell loft on Friday, the keys jangling in his hand as he locked the door behind him. The space was bare, just a couch and a coffee table, but the balcony overlooked Miami's pulsing skyline, a view that felt like a fresh start. He set his gym bag down and plugged in his laptop, already drafting a schedule for a new community center project. His phone buzzed. Elena, his sister, checking in from Tampa. "You settled?" she texted. "Getting there," he replied, attaching a photo of the city lights. Sophia, meanwhile, unraveled. At work, her colleagues whispered about Lucas, the junior exec whose flirtations had become office gossip after the Winwood mixer. Camila, once her closest ally, stopped responding to her texts, her silence louder than any argument. Jake heard through a mutual coworker that Sophia's latest presentation had faltered, her usual confidence undercut by distracted glances at her phone. He didn't reach out. Instead, he blocked her on social media, severing the digital tether to her chaos. Saturday morning, Jake met Diego for a run along South Beach, the ocean air sharp in his lungs. Diego clapped his shoulder post run. "You're looking solid, man. Like you're carrying less." Jake nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "I am." Back at the loft, he unpacked a single box. Books, a charger, a small rosemary plant he'd bought on impulse. He placed it on the balcony. Its sharp sent a quiet nod to resilience. His phone pinged with a work email, a promotion offer citing his recent wins. He accepted, scheduling a meeting to negotiate terms. Sophia tried to claw back control. Sunday, HX evening, she left a voicemail, her voice tight. "Jake, we need to figure this out. Call me." He deleted it without responding. Monday, a delivery arrived at his office. A coffee mug with "World's Best Husband" scrawled on it, sent from Sophia. He left it unopened on his desk and kept working. That night, Elena texted, "Heard Sophia's been asking about you. She's a mess." Jake replied, "She made her choices." He didn't elaborate. Tuesday, Jake volunteered at the startup incubator, guiding a team on budgeting for a tech launch. A founder, Carla, thanked him with a firm handshake. "You're a lifesaver," she said. Jake smiled, the praise grounding him. At home, he cooked a simple steak, eating alone on the balcony, the rosemary plant catching the breeze. His phone stayed quiet, no notifications from Sophia. He checked his email. Alex confirmed the loft's utilities were set. Jake exhaled, the weight of the old house gone. At Sophia's office, the fallout deepened. A coworker told Jake that Lucas had ended things, calling Sophia too intense. Her work friends, including Camila, avoided her in meetings. Sophia texted Jake Wednesday, "I got you a gift. Can I drop it off?" He replied, "Leave it with the doorman." "Thanks." The gift, a bottle of his favorite IPA, arrived that afternoon. Jake donated it to a neighbor, unopened. He didn't need her gestures. Thursday, Jake ran into Maria at a project site. She mentioned Sophia's absence from a team lunch, noting her distracted behavior. "She's losing it," Maria said, shaking her head. Jake shrugged, focusing on blueprints. Later, he joined a local running group, their pace fast along the causeway. A runner, Javier, invited him to a networking event for green architects. Jake agreed, pocketing the invite. His life was expanding, each step deliberate, away from Sophia's orbit. Friday, Sophia showed up at the loft unannounced, holding a box of Jake's old soccer gear. "Found this in the garage," she said at the door, her voice shaky. Jake took the box, his expression blank. "Thanks for bringing it." She lingered, waiting for an opening. "I messed up, Jake. Can we talk?" He shook his head. "You said enough. I'm moving forward." He closed the door, leaving her standing in the hallway. Her footsteps echoed as she left. That evening, Jake met Diego for drinks at a quiet bar in Little Havana. Diego raised a glass. "To new chapters." Jake clinked his glass, the beer cold and sharp. He checked his phone. A calendar invite for the architect's event. No messages from Sophia. He accepted the invite and leaned back, the city's hum a steady backdrop to his thoughts. Sophia's world was shrinking, her choices closing doors. Jake's was opening, built on clarity and control. Jake Morales stood on his Brickell loft's balcony, watering the rosemary plant as Miami's sunset painted the skyline gold. It was Monday, 2 weeks since he'd moved out, and his life felt like a project he'd finally scoped correctly. He'd finalized his promotion, securing a lead role on a sustainable high-rise, and his calendar buzzed with invites. A site walk, a startup pitch, a 5K with the running group. His phone, free of Sophia's notifications, held messages from Diego and Carla, the founder he'd mentored, planning a coffee meetup. Sophia, meanwhile, faced the wreckage of her choices. Her office reputation, already bruised by the Lucas gossip, took another hit when a client complained about her missed deadlines. She'd moved to a small apartment in Coconut Grove, the lease signed in a hurry after Jake left. Her group chat with Camila and others had gone silent, her girls' nights replaced by solo evenings scrolling job boards. She emailed Jake on Tuesday, a short message. "Can we meet to sort things out?" He replied, "Mediator's office, Thursday, 10 a.m. Bring what you need." No warmth, just logistics. Wednesday, Jake joined the architects' event in Wynwood, shaking hands with designers and city officials. Javier, the runner, introduced him to a nonprofit director seeking advisors for a community rebuild. Jake signed on, committing to pro bono hours, his expertise now a currency for impact. At the loft, he pinned a project timeline to a corkboard, the rosemary scent sharp as he worked late. A text from Elena arrived. "Proud of you. Dinner soon?" Jake smiled, typing, "Next weekend. You pick." Thursday morning, Jake sat across from Sophia at the mediator's office, a neutral space smelling of coffee and paper. The mediator, a calm woman named Laura, laid out folders, bank accounts, car title, the house lease. Sophia's hands fidgeted, her eyes darting to Jake, who kept his gaze on the documents. "The ring's yours," he said when Laura asked, his voice steady, final. Sophia nodded, sliding it into her purse without a word. They split assets evenly, signing papers with the efficiency of a closed deal. Laura handed them copies. "You've handled this with respect," she said. Jake thanked her, standing to leave. Sophia lingered at the table. "I'm starting therapy," she said, unprompted, her voice low. "I didn't realize how much I hurt you." Jake paused, his hand on the door. "I hope it helps you," he said, meaning it, then walked out. The Miami sun hit him as he stepped outside, his shoulders lighter. He drove to a site meeting, presenting a revised blueprint that earned a round of nods from the crew. His phone stayed quiet. No follow-up from Sophia, just a confirmation from Javier for the nonprofit's next steps. Friday, Jake ran at dawn, the causeway stretching before him, his pace strong. He stopped at a farmer's market, buying fresh herbs to plant beside the rosemary. At the loft, he cooked shrimp tacos, eating while reviewing a contract from the nonprofit. Carla called, thanking him for his mentorship. Her startup had secured funding. "You made us sharper," she said. Jake grinned, saving the contract. His life was his own, built on choices that aligned with his values. Sophia's new reality settled in. A coworker told Jake she'd taken a lower-level role at a smaller firm, a step back to rebuild credibility. Her social media, once vibrant, now showed generic quotes about growth, no more rooftop selfies. Elena mentioned Sophia had called her, asking about Jake, but Elena kept it brief, loyal to her brother. Jake didn't pry. He donated the last of their shared kitchenware to a shelter, keeping only his skillet, a clean break from their past. Saturday, Jake hosted Diego and Javier at the loft for a game night, the first time he'd opened his space to friends. Laughter filled the room as they debated strategies over cards, the rosemary plant catching the breeze through the open balcony door. Diego raised a glass. "To building what lasts," he said. Jake clinked his, the toast a quiet vow. His phone pinged, a nonprofit update, not Sophia. He answered, confirming his role in their next phase. Sunday, Jake walked to a nearby park, coaching his youth soccer team. The kids swarmed him, their energy infectious. One parent, a single dad, thanked him for inspiring his son. Jake nodded, his purpose clear. Back home, he sat on a balcony, the rosemary thriving, its roots deep in the small pot. He opened his laptop, drafting a proposal for the nonprofit, his fingers steady, his mind unburdened. Sophia's final text came that night. "I'm sorry, Jake. I hope you're happy." He read it, set the phone down, and didn't reply. Her apology was hers to carry, not his to fix. The city hummed below, alive with possibility. Jake stood, watered the rosemary, and closed his laptop. The moral was simple. Truth, when faced, sets you free. His life, now his own, was proof.